Okay, so here we are again, live from Will's Garage. This week, I'm sorry about the headset. I'm using this on my computer. I'm really hoping that this is working. I've been told that it is working. It's not working. Nobody's making any comments, so I don't think anybody's paying attention or listening or anything else. It'd be really nice to get some sort of comment or feedback. Can somebody let me know if they can hear this or not? Because I'm not going to do this. I won't sit here and waste your time and mine if you can't hear me. Can you hear me at all? Can somebody? It's working. Okay, fine. Thank you, Jesus fucking Christ. Okay, so hi, we're live from Will's Garage. Um, Before I go into this week's topics, I just want to touch on something. I made a comment about I made a comment to this week on my stream or whatever to talk about. I was wanting to know what fat shaming is. I don't feel that in any way, shape, form, or fashion I am fat shamed. I know I'm a big kid. I need to lose weight. I stepped on the scale again today. I'm still at 30 pounds. I've plateaued for the past couple of weeks, which is fine. I mean, it happens. It's not my first time. Um, it's not my first time I've had weight loss. I had weight loss on active duty, and this time it's a little bit harder because I'm not quite into the working out like I was on active duty, and things are just different. But I asked about fat shaming because I've actually heard some people say that the doctor saying that you need to lose weight is fat shaming, and I'm like, that's not really fat shaming. That's the doctor saying, look, I know that as a big kid, I was borderline diabetic. I'm borderline diabetic. There's my knees hurt, my ankles hurt, my lower back hurts if I'm walking or standing in the theme park for too long of a time. I get it. It sucks, and we're drinking Apple Crown and Fireball, so it's a little bit of it's delicious. But I just want to know what fat shaming was for other people to hear, and basically it's if you're being told that you're fat by people who just want to point it out, like, hey, you're fat. Yeah, well, thanks. I'm fucking fat. I don't need you to point it out. That's pretty much what fat shaming is. Your doctor telling you to lose weight is not fat shaming. Um, I've had people say that if they goes that being weighed on a scale in a doctor's office is fat shaming, and that's not fat shaming either. Um, we really are. Oh, here's Maddie from last week. What's going on?
Just at work, we're almost done. So I'll be done about 9:30, which may be a little too late for you to do Will's Garage.
Oh no, I'm doing Wheels Garage right now. So if in 30 minutes I'll bring you on. I'm basically just talking about the fat shaming thing that I posted
Oh,
last
you
week.
posted about that.
Yeah, I was basically saying that fat shaming, in my opinion, is not what a lot of people have. Because if you're gonna tell me I'm fat, look, I know it. I'm fat. I don't need you to fucking tell me. That would be fat shaming. But your doctor telling you that you're overweight, you need to lose weight because your knee pain will go away, your back pain will go away, you're diabetic, your A1C will go down, kind of thing. Not fat shaming, and people who say that they're just weak. So yeah, go ahead and finish work, whatever you need to do, and then yeah, if you want to, you can go ahead and go live from your phone, and I'll bring you on.
Sounds good.
Okay.
All right, I'll talk to you shortly.
All right. All right. Bye bye.
Bye.
So yeah, guys, that was Maddie. He's doing his thing. So yeah, I just wanted to touch on that. I don't in any way, shape, form, or fashion feel that I'm being shamed because of my size in any way. If anything, I'm shaming myself because I know I'm a big guy and I need to lose weight. My knees will thank me for it. My back will thank me for it. My hips will thank me for it. Like there's a lot of health issues that I have that I'm sure will thank me for it if I lose weight. So that's that. That's all that is. And trust me, if you think anybody's gonna say some shit to me that they're gonna get away with, or that I'm gonna allow them to get away with, then you got nothing coming. So so there's that. I keep getting this action needed, too low frames per second. That I need to select a frame rate. If the video is not working right, whatever. As long as you're getting the audio, then the video could pretty much kiss my ass. I'm not happy with the fact that I got to do this on a laptop versus I got to do this on a laptop versus my phone. I cracked the crap out of my phone, and uh, you know, uh, I had the I had the phone or the phone screen replaced, and for some reason they didn't fix the camera, they didn't fix the thumb, and I'm going to take it back. I'm going to take it back to them and say, you need to fix this. I mean, it should operate exactly as it was before, and that's why I have the insurance, and now I can't take a selfie. Come on now, this is stupid. So anyway, this week's topics are so we're going to talk about naturalists and nudists. We're gonna talk about gay monogamy. Is it a myth? I know a lot of friends of mine in the gay community say that there's no such thing as gay monogamy, and they say that there's that monogamy is. Why does what? I'm gonna have to go. Let me go into my. I'm going to go into my settings for McAfee here real quick, and because it keeps pausing the video for web boost or whatever the fuck that bullshit is, and it's like, I don't need you to web boost me. Um, you know, I'm good. Oh, it's so irritating. I wish my phone was working. I really do. So anyway, so yeah, so gay monogamy and polyamorous relationships. This was my friend Art that wanted to know about poly, talk about poly, all that nice happy stuff. So I will definitely talk about poly, and and talk about, in my opinion, polyamorous relationships. And again, this is all my opinion. If you don't like my opinion, opinions are like assholes. Everybody's got one. Most of them stink, and if you don't like my opinion, I mean, really, because you know, whatever. So, and then something that I really think that parents don't do, or like why going to college today as a 46-year-old man, in my opinion, is going to be detrimental to my mental health. Um, and I kind of say that flippantly. It's detrimental to my mental health. But why I think that the college experience is not for people who are older than straight out of high school into college. And we'll get into that. And then again, and then the last one is mental health. I'm gonna touch on some things that are part of my mental health right now. So 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 let's dive right into it. So, naturalists and nudists. So, one of the things that was introduced to me by a really good friend of mine was the naturalist and nudist lifestyle, and unfortunately, there is two different trains of thought with naturalists and nudists. A nudist is just somebody who likes to go around nude, and that's fine. Somebody once said that the difference between a naturalist and a nudist are kids. Nudists are just adults that like to be nude, and they'll go to nude beach, go to nude resort. If they have friends, it'll be like a whole bunch of nudists getting together to throw a cocktail party or some shit like that. So, but that's the difference between nudists and naturalists, and I can respect that. It is a little weird being naked around kids. I will say the first time I was naked around a 16-year-old woman, even though I'm gay, it was weird, because I like it's I don't know, it just it kind of pegged a 10 on my weird shit meter. It doesn't bother me anymore, because because it takes a minute for, I guess, the brain to get past the fact that this isn't about sex and sexuality. It's about being in nature. One of the things I like about naturalism and nudism is the people that you meet are probably some of the most genuine, down to earth people that you're ever going to meet. And it's and really, like, the joke is, if you will, like, it's all out there for everybody to see. So get your fill, because here it is. But but I think that there's something to that about um, yeah, like, just the freeing or liberating feeling of just being nude in society and in nature and whatever. And I guess maybe it could be. Okay, so I don't put a whole lot of stock into the Bible and whatever. You can, that's your thing. I'm good with it. My mom is fairly religious, and she puts stock into the Bible and Jesus and all that stuff. I don't. And as I get older and I start finding out more and more and more things, I find that the wedge between me and organized religion just keeps getting further and further and further apart. Especially because of something called the 1946 Project. Prior to 1946, the biblical verses that everybody likes to quote to say that I'm a sinner and going to hell is Leviticus, that a man lays with a man the way he lays with a woman, he's blah 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 blah. Well, apparently that was rewritten in the 1940s, especially 1946. The translation was redone to say that a man lays with a man. It used to, apparently, from what I understand, and this is, I'd have to do a lot more research on it before I speak eloquently on it. And maybe that might be you know what? Let me make that. Let's do that next Friday. Let's make the 1946 project a topic of conversation for next week. 1946 project, right? We'll make the 1946 project a topic of conversation for next week. But apparently, from what I understand, I'm going to paraphrase a lot here, but apparently what happened was, before 1946, the biblical scripture used to read that if a man lays with a child the way a man lays with a woman, then it's an abomination, and he should be smitten or whatever. And so now it reads that if a man lays with a man the way he lies with a woman. So I find that very curious. Why would they change the translation in 1946? I have some conspiracy theories about it. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I might have a conspiracy theory or two to to explain away why they would say that if a man lays with a man like he lays with a woman, it's abomination. I think it has a lot to do with the fact that 1946 was right after World War II, and everybody loves to have somebody to hate, right? Well, if we can't hate on Jews anymore because Hitler kind of fucked that up for us, right? Then maybe we can hate on the gays. And I really think that that's why they changed the verse. I think that's why they changed the way it's written, the translation and everything else. And so yeah, look, now we have somebody that we can hate, and it's perfectly okay because gays are gays are gays. They're not black or white or Asian or Puerto Rican. They're gay. So now we can hate on them, and it's perfectly fine because it's a sexual orientation. It's not a race, right? So that's kind of how I feel about it. And here's the thing, right? And this is what bothers me about how we don't get to know what the Bible really says. We have people interpreting it for us and letting us know what they think it says. Because what does it really say? Like, I would really like to know what it really says. Like, what does it really say? And of course, I don't speak Aramaic or whatever the Bible was written in. So I mean, I can't tell you. I can't tell you, but you can't tell me either. We're basing it off of what a group of supposedly scholarly people are saying the Bible says. So that to me just doesn't kind of settle with me well. Like, why are you telling me what I should and should not believe? Why don't you just tell me what it actually says, and then let me make up my own mind, right? Well, that goes into Anyway, we're not gonna go there. We'll talk about the 1946 brawl next week. So naturalists and nudists. The big thing that I notice about naturalism and nudism, especially as a gay man, is gays. It almost seemed like back in the 80s and the 90s, everything gays touched turned to gold. Like you wanted fabulous floral arrangements, or you wanted like beautiful hair or whatever. You go to a gay man, and my God, you're gonna have the best hair or best floral arrangement or anything else. And it seemed like back in the late 80s, early 90s, there was a dynamic shift, and all of a sudden, everything gay men touched turned to shit. And it's why, like, and I really think that that's why that if you go to a nudist resort now, there's a huge push about like no public displays of affection. You really can't touch people. Like and that's like I can't go with Mike and touch Mike. Like or you got to be very careful about how you touch each other, because you can get kicked out, and then you can get banned for life. And let me tell you, these people have the heterosexual nudist community has got like lists that they can look you up on and be like, nope, you were banned for life from this nudist resort, and so now all the nudist resorts know what your name is, and they will ban you for it, and it's crazy. So it's sad, because I've been to gay nudist resorts, and it's just basically one big fuck fest. I mean, you walk in there and there's like butt sex happening and dick sucking over here, and it really is kind of disgusting, because is that all we are? Is that all we really are as a gay men, if we get together, is just a bunch of horn dogs? Like we've basically relegated ourselves to nothing more than than sex. I mean, don't get me wrong. If that's what you're all about, that's great. But I'll tell you that when I hit my early to mid 30s, the casual sex scene that happens in the gay community really kind of started to turn me off. I felt like a cheap sex doll that kind of goes into the mental health issue. I felt like cheap and used. And that's not a good feeling. It kind of sucks feeling that way, that you're cheap and used, and thanks, that was hot, and like the guys doesn't like lose my number kind of thing. And while that's great, I'm sure for a lot of people, it just isn't me anymore. Thank God. I'm in a monogamous relationship, or Mike and I have our rules. The door is not open for God and everybody to come walking through. And what we have decided is that what one does affects both of us. And so if you find Mike attractive and you're like, oh, how you doing? Well, there's some rules, and our rules are fairly simple and straightforward. If you find Mike attractive and you want to have sex with Mike, and you've talked it over, and you and Mike are like, oh my God, yeah, let's do this. Well, you got to ask my permission. And if I say no, then you've got to be okay with that. You and Mike have both got to be okay with that. Now, I'm not going to say no all the time. I don't think that saying no. I mean, like, I'm not here to control and manipulate somebody. Control and manipulation is the first sign of a toxic relationship. And not only is it the first sign of a toxic relationship, but it is also the first sign of a relationship that is going to crash and burn and fail miserably. Because once you start controlling and manipulating somebody, it's no longer about love. It's all about power and how you can keep power with your partner. But so yeah, you know what? If you find him attractive, knock yourself out, because you've at least shown. And we can both sit here and tell you horror stories about how guys will be like, "Oh, why do I go to fucking ask him?" Because that's our rules, bitch. And either you don't want to abide by our rules, which tells me that you have no respect for us. And if you have no respect for us, I really don't want to have anything to do with you anyway. Whether you're the potential good friend or a potential how you doing. If you have no respect for us and our rules, then you're not going to have any respect for us in anything else. And that just kind of goes back to a societal issue that I'm noticing today, where we don't respect each other. We don't respect each other. We don't you know Oh my god, I can sit here and tell you how this fucking thing right here is ruining the gay community. In my opinion, I think it's ruining the gay community because it's allowing you to say things behind a screen that you would never say in person. Oh my god. Like some of the shit people say behind a screen. Ugh. But yeah, so I guess we're going into gay monogamy and polygamy, polyamorous relationships, not necessarily polygamy. Polygamy, I think, is a little bit something different. But, is there such thing as gay monogamy? Absolutely. Is it a social construct that's created by heterosexuals? Absolutely not. And I know that there's going to be gay friends of mine out there that are going to say, "Oh, well, this bullshit. Monogamy was designed by heterosexual people." Blah 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 blah. Well, let me tell you something. Didn't the '80s fucking decimate the gay community? Decimated the gay community. Why? Because we were out there fucking everything that goddamn walks, and we spread HIV like it was our fucking jobs. So you think, if I'm negative, and I've been tested and I know I'm negative, and my partner's negative, and he's been tested and he knows he's negative, then why am I becoming HIV positive in 6 months? Oh, because we don't know what the fuck monogamy is. Right? Well, monogamy isn't just, hey, I'm a married man and this is a married woman and, we're staying monogamy for children and families. Monogamy is also preventing the spread of disease inside our relationship. There's my number one my number one reason why I think more gay men need to be monogamous. Stop spreading disease amongst your relationships. Is that too much to ask? You know, hey, here's an idea. I've made it through the 80s and the 90s and 2000 and 2010 and 2020 and 2030 and I'm not HIV positive. You know why? Because I never went out and fucked around on my partner and brought HIV home. Me, on the other hand, I fucked everything that walked back in California, and I will tell you right now that I was in an abusive relationship. I was in an abusive relationship for 3 years with a man who was literally a narcissist. I'll say it publicly. I know that I still have some friends on here that know him, that are still friends with him, and you can take that shit right back to him. He was a fucking narcissist. It was all about him. There was literally nothing in that relationship about me. Nothing. It may have been initially in the beginning, but as the relationship went on, and I was 100% faithful with him, he was not 100% faithful with me. As a matter of fact, he gave me hepatitis B. And I didn't realize when his doctor said it as he was coming out of the doctor's office, but he said something about, sometimes we should just dismiss these little indiscretions because, as long as the relationship is still sound, blah blah blah. And I didn't catch it. I didn't catch it when he said it, but I sure as fuck remember him saying it. And I can tell you right now, if because here was the thing. He actually said, and he said it first. I didn't say it. He said it first. He said, "We can't date unless we're monogamous." Okay, great. Well, as soon as you fucked somebody else outside the relationship, you should have fucking ended it. You should have ended it. But the reason why it didn't end is I held all the financial cards. That's the biggest reason. I held all the financial cards. I was the one supporting us financially. Now he couldn't afford the rent. He couldn't afford half the fucking rent. 1250 was the split bill between my half and his half. Yeah, 1250. Now do the math, right? 1250 times 2. How much was the monthly bills? So he couldn't afford his half of the rent because when we decided, okay, when I came home from work one day and he decided that he was going to leave because he couldn't make me happy anymore, and really my happiness was only like, can we quit letting other people into our relationship and define what our relationship was all about? Can it just be me and you? Why are we letting your friends in El Cajon that are fucking losers define our relationship? I think that we should be the ones defining our relationship. But that's where the narcissism came into play. I mean, I learned so much in therapy after he decided to leave, and that's fine. He decided to leave. He broke off the relationship. Even though I've been told by the same friends that can take all this shit back to him because I don't give a fuck anymore. Um, that I should have been the one to end the relationship because I would have felt better and it would have gave me the ability to tell him to basically fuck off, which here, fuck off, right? Um, yeah. So monogamy in gay relationships is important. You're not bringing disease home to your partner, And granted, for straights, there's pregnant. You don't want to you don't want to go out and sire an illegitimate child or have an illegitimate child sired because you're cheating on your significant other. But in gay relationships, it's just as important to prevent disease from coming into your relationship as it is anything else. And so that's why I would say, don't listen to the assholes out there that want to go out and fuck everything that walks, because that's exactly what they want to do. They just want to fuck everything that walks and then say, oh, I want some monogamy, man. Well, I want monogamy because I don't need fucking. I mean, I got HIV already. I don't need syphilis. I don't need herpes. I don't need gonorrhea. And Lord goddamn knows that gay men don't use condoms, so condoms never heard of her. So yeah, there's gonna be some consequences. So that's why monogamy in gay relationships are important. But so let's go from monogamy to polyamorous relationships. I don't look down at polyamorous relationships. I can barely fucking make one man happy. If you can make 2, 3, 4, 6, 12 men fucking happy, by all means, knock yourself out. Like, and good on you too, because I don't know how you do it. But I will say this. You know, I don't necessarily believe in them. The polyamorous relationships. I've got friends that are polyamorous, but I'm like, but are they really? You know, I've got I've got a friend who's in a polyamorous relationship, and the initial set of partners are older, and he's the younger one, and that's very common. I see that very common in polyamorous relationships. I see, you know, the two older people are having problems or whatever, so they decide to bring a third in to kind of spice up the relationship, and all of a sudden the third doesn't fucking leave because it was supposed to be a one night stand, and all of a sudden like this bitch is bringing in luggage because if you think a lesbian relationship is bad, where the first date is how's it going, the second date's a U-Haul. And let's not get it twisted. We give lesbians a hard time, but women are just different than men. They are. Men tend to be more like fuck them and forget them. Women tend to be more emotional and like, oh my god, like love your feelings and shit, whatever. Or I don't know. I guess I'll have to talk to my sister about that. She's a big flaming mo. Love her to death. But yeah, so I've never seen a polyamorous relationship where three people in their 20s get together when they're in their 20s, and 20 years later there's now three people in their 40s, and for 20 years they've been in this, loving, kind, caring, compassionate relationship that's gone that's spanned the test of time, and they all still love each other now today like they did 20 years ago when they first got together. I've never seen that. I will challenge anybody that watches, if you have seen one of those relationships and the three people are willing to talk to me, I'd love to talk to them. I'd love to talk to them and ask them, like, how did you keep that type of relationship going? Because what we see more prominent is it's two older guys and a younger guy. Now that's in the gay community. In the straight community, whoo, like I got a lot of straight friends, and I'll tell you right now, like you've got to be one strong, independent person to allow your husband to have a girlfriend and you're okay with it, or you've got to be a very strong, independent man for you to allow your wife. And I will take that back. Not allow, but for your wife to have a boyfriend. Like that's God bless you, because most of the heterosexual relationships that I know, that would probably go over like a lead balloon or a fart in church. Like I don't see any of my straight friends that are in relationships allowing their spouse to go out and date somebody else and them being completely okay with it. Or better yet, like like, oh, so you're gonna do what in our bed? Yeah, I don't see that happening either. So polyamory. I really wish my buddy Art was on, because he was the one that wanted me to talk about it, and he's not on right now. I don't think. I haven't seen him make any comments yet, so I don't think he's on, and I really hope that I have touched on what he wanted me to touch on. Um, so there's that. Yeah. So let's see. So now we get to one of the meat and potato arguments that I have tonight, which is college. So I really think that if you look at college from a 20 an 18, 19, 20-year old perspective, you really don't know what to expect. So college is going to be it's going to be a time for you to get away from mom and dad and fucking party like it's 1999, right? The problem I have with college today now, as a 40-year-old man, or a 46-year-old man, I'll be 47 this year. What I have a problem with college now is I'm paying for that shit. So you need to fucking teach me. And I'm not talking your TA. I don't need your TA. I want you to fucking get off your goddamn ass and teach me. I'm paying your fucking salary by paying $750 a semester credit hour. I'm paying for it. Teach me. And I don't think we understand. Well, I know parents don't understand that, because if they did, then I don't think college would be as fucking expensive as it is. Because I'd be like, I go straight to the dean and be like, if the professor's not going to get his ass out of his fucking room and teach, then I'm not going to pay $750 a semester credit hour. Why? When I got a teacher's aide fucking teaching the course. No. He needs to fucking get off his... I mean, what are we paying his ass for? What are you paying his ass for? To sit there in his fucking office and have some teacher's assistant or teacher's aide or teacher, whatever the fuck a TA is, teach the class? How about this? How about you teach the class? Teach me what I need to know to get through fucking college, because I'll tell you right now, I'm not going to pay your fucking outlandish cost for college for the professor not to teach me. And second to that, your office hours. Your office hours are going to be when the fuck I need you to be available, because I'm paying you to be available. I'm paying you to teach me. So that's the thing about higher education that kind of irritates me, is that we don't understand. I mean, if they're gonna fucking continue to raise the price of higher education, then by God, we need to start holding higher education people accountable for teaching. They need to teach, and we need to quit allowing this slack ass bullshit to happen. Teach me. Because again, I'm also paying for it. So if I'm paying for it, there's no reason why I should fail a class. I'm paying for it. Teach me what I need to know. And if I fail a class, that's on you. It's not on me. I mean, granted, if I do my assignments, it shouldn't be on me. Because if I'm not grasping the information that you're trying to put out, then you need to reevaluate and let's move forward to teach me. right? That's probably going to get a lot of negative bullshit. But it goes back to what I was saying last week about how how about we stop paying our doctors to be late for their fucking patients? Stop paying your copay up front. Tell them, or after the doctor's visit, go back up to the front and say, I need a refund of at least 50% because your doctor was fucking late seeing me. So I understand that your doctor's visit is $200, and the insurance is going to pick up 280, and I'm gonna have to pay the other 20 because that's my copay. But I'm not going to pay 20 fucking bucks if you're late. I'm not going to pay you fucking $750 a semester credit hour if you can't even show up to fucking class and teach. I mean, am I wrong? Am I wrong on that? Like, I know I've not been to college, so maybe I can't really speak on it like I should. But I'm kind of thinking that yeah, if I'm going to pay you $750 a semester credit hour, and I think that's on the cheap. I think that's cheap. I think that there's semester credit hours out there that are a hell of a lot more expensive than $750. But if I'm paying that, shouldn't you be required to show up? I should be graded by you. I should be, you know, if there's going to be a conference between the professor and the student, that it should be the professor, not his teaching aide. Am I off base on that? A part of me doesn't think so. A part of me thinks that I'm right on the money. That here's an idea. Teach me. And I don't need your activist bullshit either. So that's where I'm very happy. I'm gonna go all the way back to two weeks ago, and I'm gonna say I'm very happy with my state for passing the Parental Rights and Education Act that has been, I would say, maliciously and slanderously redefined as the "Don't Say Gay" bill. I read an article today in the Los Angeles Times, and it's funny how the Los Angeles Times actually quoted from the legislation that said that what it does is it prevents teachers K through 3 from having a classroom discussion about gender gender identity or sexual orientation that's not approved curriculum by the school district, right? That's what the actual Los Angeles Times, right? You can't get any more tree hugging hippie liberal than California, and especially the Los Angeles Times. The Los Angeles Times got it right. It said exactly what the bill is doing. It's preventing teachers from having classroom discussions about gender identity and sexual orientation without an approved curriculum that's approved by the school district. But I know. But yeah, mom is saying that dinner's been fucking delivered. So give me a minute. I'm gonna take a quick commercial break. Watch watch the shit in the background in the garage, and I'll be right back. We got one more topic, and Less than an hour this time. Close to that. 40 minutes, hour, whatever. Okay. You know, in the last videos, I was saying that Mom was going to bitch about, don't use your teeth to separate the bricks. Well, I'm not using my teeth to separate the bricks. She just said, "Hey, your dinner's getting cold at the front door," because we had Uber Eats delivered, Mexican. Yeah. So let's see. Naturalists and Nudists, gay, monogamy and polyamory, college cost and education payments, and then so my last topic for this week is mental health. Um, I am about to throw this goddamn computer across the room because I keep getting this pop up that shows up saying that my bit rate per second or some shit is low and it's going to cause a poor video. But that's really kind of the crux of my mental issues, right? I am so agitated at fucking everything, and I've been off my medication. I went off my medication because I'm sick and tired of not having a libido. I now that I actually have a libido, it's kind of nice to like start feeling those feelings again. Yeah, so I get this. Oh, action needed. Too low frames per second. The current frame rate is too low. Please set the frame rate to 15 to 60 frames per second. I have no fucking clue how to do that. So watch this. I just click it off. Yeah, so it's nice to have a libido again, and but the problem is all the issues that I was having in 2018 when I had retired, and like all this stuff started hitting me at once again, are hitting me again, and so the highs are a little too high, the lows are way too fucking low. I mean, I remember I saw my dad's VFW hat or DAV hat, and I told Mom. I said, this is why I'm on medication. I said I walked in crying, and she's like, "Oh my God, what's wrong?" I said that I said the low is just too low. I saw his hat and I started crying because I couldn't help myself. Um, he my dad. I You unfortunately don't know what you have until it's gone, and unfortunately that was the case with my dad. Is I didn't really know what I had till he was gone, and I do kind of suffer a little bit from survivor's guilt. I suffer from seeing him slumped over in the driver's seat of the car, and not knowing the correct CPR procedures, so maybe feeling a little bit like I might have let him die. There's a lot of the onion to peel away on that. And I tell you this because I don't think that we should be ashamed of mental health. That going and get a little therapy never hurt nobody. You got to be respect. You have. This is the one thing that I will say about mental health, though, is that you've got to feel like you're getting something out of it. If you're not getting something out of it, then you need to switch therapists or providers or something like that. You definitely need to get something out of it. One, two. Any time a provider takes sides. So let's say you and your spouse decide to go to couples counseling, and the therapist is like, "Oh, no, you're absolutely right, and your partner's wrong. You need to fire that fucker as quickly as you possibly can, because they don't take sides. The good ones don't take sides. Professionals don't take sides, because there is no side. There's there's enough blame to go around for everybody. There's no one side is right and one side is wrong. What it does teach you is how to talk to each other. Um, when when you ignore me and just sit there on your phone all night long, it makes me feel unwanted. And, you know, that's a you doing an issue, not a me doing an issue. I'm trying to get your attention, and you're just sitting there on your phone all night long. You know? And now that you've heard that and you don't want to change that behavior because, well, fuck it, you should get used to it. You knew what you were getting into when we first started dating. Yeah, no, you used to actually pay attention to me when we first started dating, and now you're in nothing but your phone, and you're not giving me the attention. You're not giving me any attention. So what? Was this a bait and switch? Like, oh yeah, get him on the hook and dating, and then now that I've got him on the hook, yeah, fuck it, just whatever. Like there's no side to be had. All sides can take some blame on why their relationship is shit. Or if the relationship is doing well, maybe you just need some counseling on some things that you're having a hard time working through. Don't bring your friends into your therapy. I would say don't bring your friends into your therapy because you're just asking for your friends to take sides. There's and remember to the rule of three. There's your story, there's my story, and there's the truth. And the truth is a little bit of yours, a little bit of mine, and a little bit of ours. So when you go telling your stories to your friends, understand that they're only getting one side, and so you can't ask them their opinion because they're only going to give you a one-sided opinion. They're not going to give you a well-rounded opinion. That's why couples counseling actually really works. If you are truly in it to win it, couples counseling will work because both sides want to make the relationship better. But both sides also have to want to make the relationship better. I will say that um, when you're dating a narcissist and the narcissist doesn't feel like they're doing anything wrong because they're a fucking narcissist. Um, yeah, couples therapy is not going to fucking work. And I will say that the validation that I got when my therapist was saying, like, we've reached a really good point that we don't have to do what we were doing anymore. And she said, "Oh, by the way," and she broke it down to brass tacks for me that what she saw in her office was not somebody who wanted to get a relationship back on track. It was somebody who wanted to prove that I had done everything wrong and they had done everything right. And that's not therapy. That's you're not in it to win it. You're in it to prove, oh, I'm right and this person's wrong. No. And it's sad because that particular relationship and individual, their best friend who unfortunately passed, um, knew what was going on too, and too late begged my forgiveness. Begged my forgiveness to the point that after he passed, he begged his sister to call me and say, "You know why he's calling." He wouldn't tell me why. Do you understand? I said, "I know why you're calling." I said, and I do understand. Um, but I read a book called The Power to Forgive and the Freedom Not to, and so I don't forgive him, and I still don't to this day because it's one of the things that we do way too often is we forgive when we shouldn't. I don't feel the pain or the sting anymore, but forgive, no, I don't forgive. Because to forgive means that you truly, truly, um, realize how fucked up you were at the time, and you just like, and yeah, but see, the thing is that, oh, it's okay. No, it's not okay. That's the problem with that. That was one of the things that they talked about in the book, The Power to Forgive and the Freedom Not to. We give our, oh no, it's okay, don't worry about it. Well, it's not okay because it still bothers you, right? It's not okay. And that's the point. True forgiveness, it shouldn't bother you anymore. If you truly have forgiveness, then it shouldn't bother you because you know what? Yeah, whatever. It's water under the bridge. Who cares? And that's not to say that it bothers me either. It doesn't bother me anymore. I don't care. But I don't have to forgive because I have the freedom not to. And I think that was the bigger powerful message is, forgive on your terms, not on theirs. So I'll forgive on my terms. And my terms are, when we meet again, because I think we'll meet again, I'll forgive them. Not right now. So yeah, that's I think Will's garage for this week. I did it in under an hour, which is what I was looking for. I was looking to do Will's garage in under an hour. I did it under an hour. Next week we're going to talk about the 1946 project, which I think is going to be. I'm going to do some research on it. I might even, if I can find the documentary, because it's actually a documentary. The 1946 project is a documentary that talks about how they rewrote the Bible in 1946 to what we have today. Because if you go to a Bible prior to 1946, you won't find in, what is it, Leviticus, that if a man lays with a man the way he lays with a woman, it's an abomination. You won't find it. That's kind of suspicious to me. Why would you not find that? If that's so important, then that should be something that we know and always know. But yet, if it's not there prior to 1946 and it's there now, why is it the narrative changed or the translation changed? And why would they do that? Why? Just why? Ask the question why. And I think it's because, or if you're going to try to manipulate people to believe the way you want them to believe, then you've got to have a villain for them to all hate. And I think that's the new villain. And so, and as you can see from 1946 to I would say present day, you know what? I think that's going to be my reason why there's no youth in the church today. That's going to be topic number 2 for next week. Why is there no youth in the church? And I'm not talking like, you're forcing your kids to go to church every Sunday. I'm saying, like, why is it 25-year-old, 30-year-old kids aren't walking into a church and saying, you know what, I need me some Jesus today? I think I have an answer for that. I've heard it told before that the reason why is this, and I think that I'd like to share it with you guys and see what you think too. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised that it's not some far off cockamamie story. That it's probably more right on the nose. Yeah. So let's see. What did we talk about last week? We talked about uh, cougars flirting with gay men, right? Oh, God. Poor Florida drivers, and they just continue to get poor. It's been raining the past couple of days, so let's talk about poor Florida drivers. Shitty mental health / VA care. I got so little follow up on that. I actually did have my first consultation on the phone yesterday. So I foresee me going in to have therapy here soon. Single payer health care and Why? That's a bad idea. Centralized medicine. Yeah, and then we took Naturalist and Nudists to this week. Um, and then you know what? We really need Maddie. I kind of miss him this week. But we need Maddie to bring up Hedy Lamarr, 1930s actress, and what Hedy Lamarr was all about. Because I'm curious. I believe we need to learn from history. History, if we don't learn from it, we're doomed to repeat it. And what can we learn from Hedy that'll help us with maybe what's going on, and we can find out, like, how can Hedy teach us what's going on in Ukraine, and maybe how we can prevent it again, or what have you. It'd just be kind of interesting. I'd like to know what Maddie was thinking about with that, and just kind of go there. You know, uh, yeah, I think that'd be kind of cool. So anyway, um, and you know what? Comment maybe something else that you'd like to see or hear. I actually do go through the comments. I get the notifications for the comments throughout the rest of the week when people actually start watching it and they make comments or say something. Like I'd like to do at least a shout out to the 4 people who have commented during the live portion of this video, and that's Philip Oliver. He's a fellow chief petty officer, and we call each other brother and sister in the mess. So he is my brother from another mother. Susan Susan has been a friend of mine since oh my God, Susan, what was it? Was I 16 and you were yeah, we've been around the sun quite a few times together, haven't we? Um, Susan is one of those friends that you can not see each other for months, years at a time, and as soon as you see each other again, it's like you picked up where things left off, and like no time had passed at all. I would say that's Susan and her husband Kelly. I affectionately call him the ogre. I was 16, wasn't I? Yeah. Um, I affectionately call him the ogre. He's a prior Marine, once a Marine. Mike's home. You can hear the dogs bitching that he's home. Once a Marine, always a Marine. I was a sailor, so I got to give him a ration of shit. But probably one of the most influential men in my life, to that when he found out I was gay, was like, okay, and you know, does that make you a bad person? And he's continued to be a positive influence in my life. Because if that man, tougher than fucking nails and whatever else, can be okay with me as a person, well then that's a you problem, not a me problem. And he does dish it back. Yes, I know. And I think that's because there's a mutual respect there. Chris Shornick is a retired Navy Master Chief. I remember when he terminated his he actually had paperwork in to retire, and he said, you know what? Nope, I'm gonna go back out to sea, and I'm gonna make Master Chief. And sure as shit, that motherfucker went out to sea and made Master Chief. Like, he knew what was going to happen. He was just like, I just need to go out to sea one more time, and I'm going to make Master Chief. And sure enough, he went out to sea one more time. I think he actually took an F-18 squadron out to sea too. And then oh God, there's he's at a Pensacola Ice Flyers hockey game tonight, so he wasn't able to listen in. I'm sure that he will definitely be part of the rewatch crew that comes in later and rewatches the video. But that's Mike Goza. Mike and Sarah Goza they're they're kind of like Susan and Kelly. They're more like family than they are anything else. I don't get to say that all too often because there's not a whole lot of people that I really feel that close to, but I really feel that close to Mike and Sarah Goza, two of the absolute best people. Like, just give you the shirt off their back. Care it oozes out of their pores. They really, when they ask you how are you doing, it's not a hello to them. They really want to know how are you doing. And I can tell you right now, like it was one of the best blessings that I ever had in the Navy, was to get stationed with Mike, and in the process of being stationed with Mike, getting to meet Sarah and their kids, and and getting told that my 14-year-old daughter doesn't need to learn what a blowjob is from you, Will. That's my job, and I'm sorry, Sarah. I am what I am, right? But God, and every time they're in town or even close to town, they were in Tampa here recently, and yeah, Mike and I drove an hour and a half just to have lunch with them because that's who they are. And if my Susan and Kelly were in Tampa and said, "Hey, we're in town for a say no more. My ass is in the car. We're driving to Tampa. We're gonna have lunch with Susan and Kelly." That's the type of people that these people are, and that's the love and respect that I have for them. And I genuinely mean that when I say that I love these people. I genuinely do love these people. There's nothing wrong with a man expressing love like that. I think that we need to say that more back. Um, is that going to be my fourth? Nope, that's going to be my third. I think I want to talk next week about how we really need to say that we love each other, and we do. We love each other. That there's the friends that we have, and then there's the friends that we really have that become family. So let's see. I'm gonna put P love on here. So platonic love, like familiar F love, like familiar love. Um, ooh, I know what my fourth topic is going to be next week, and that's going to be it's something that is very common in the gay community. Is like it's the three blessings of family. I was very much blessed with the family that I was born into because my family was accepting of me. I would say to a point. I was a tough pill to swallow when I was younger, and I used to irritate the piss out of my mother. I would fuck with her just to fuck with her. Hey, honey. Um, then the second blessing is the family that you have, like the family that you make by meeting people and you know uh, the close company that you keep with people, and then the last family that you have is on your deathbed, when you look up from your deathbed and you see nobody there, or you see a whole group of loving, caring people looking back at you. It's the family that you deserve, and and I will tell you that if you're an asshole and you look up in your deathbed and there's nobody there, you kind of have the family you deserve. If you've been a loving, kind, caring person and you look up from your deathbed and you're surrounded by these warm, loving, caring people that are saying, "Go ahead and go, we're okay." Um, I think that there's something to be said about that too. So I want to talk about. I want to go a little bit more in depth with that, and what do the three levels of family really mean? So I think that's going to be number 3 next week. Yep. No, that's going to be number 4 next week. So the 1946 Project, Youth and Church, Paternal and familiar Love, and then 3 levels of family. And really how it relates to gays too. So Mike is home. That's my cue to go and get something to eat and be with my family. My mother is here. My niece is coming in this weekend. Um, it's going to be cold in Florida this weekend. So with that and everything else, I'm going to say you stay classy, and I'll see you on the backside.